Chapter 3 Mahabhashiam. People, pure at heart, tend to flare up spontaneously, but then they cool down as quickly as they flare up. This is the popular notion. Sage Patanjali was one such good person, good at heart and innocent, but highly short-tempered. He always took keen interest in the welfare of mankind in general. After authoring the great Grantham Mahabhashiam, he wanted to propagate its contents for the benefit of posterity. Meanwhile, Mahabhashyam means a complete treatise on grammar. So he began to hold special classes every day for his 1,000 disciples just to teach them the Mahabhashyam. One day he was holding a session on the nuances of the text. The session was nearly complete when suddenly one of his students got up and went out of the class. The sage could not tolerate such indiscipline. For a moment he was so enraged that his eyes began to emit flames of anger. The 999 other disciples who remained in the class were burned to ashes in his Kopagni. The next moment he had calmed down, but he could only repent to see his disciples burned to ashes. He regretted his tetchy nature because all of those who had perished had grasped Mahabhashyam completely. Now he was left with the tough task of gathering another group of disciples and coaching them from scratch. Meanwhile, the disciple who had gone out and roused his anger came back. He was stunned to see what had happened. However, seeing his guru crestfallen at what had happened, he tried to console him. Don't worry, O great teacher, I am still alive. I have comprehended the substance of the great Mahabhashyam. I shall propagate the text through my disciples, he vouched. The sight of the disciple, who was the root cause of the tragedy, made sage Patanjali tremble again with rage. You wretch, it's because of you that I have lost my disciples. I don't need you, he screamed in anger, fire emitting from his eyes. And lo, the one and only disciple who was left was also burned to ashes. The next moment the sage had begun to regret his latest folly. He was feeling dejected when a Gandharva, a celestial singer, came to him and saluted. O great one, please do not lose heart. I can help you. I am a Gandharva. I have attended your Mahabhashyam classes sitting on the peepal tree near your hermitage. I would be honored if you could kindly permit me to propagate the text, the Gandharva prayed, hoping that the sage would be pleased. He was surprised when the sage went livid with anger. This is cheating. You have imbibed these lessons without my permission. I am going to curse you. You shall turn into a Brahmarakshas, evil spirit. Mercy, mercy, cried the Gandharva, and the sage started regretting his hasty action again. I cannot take back my curse, but I can definitely modify it. You shall come across a scholar shortly, who will be worthy enough to comprehend Mahabhashyam. Once you impart the knowledge of Mahabhashyam to him, you will be free from the curse. Sage Patanjali blessed him before he left. The next moment, the poor Gandharva was transformed into a demon. He then climbed up the peepal tree and began his wait for the eminent one. The next day he saw a Brahmin who came that way. The Brahmarakshas swiftly climbed down the tree and asked him a question. The Brahmin could not give the answer, so the Brahmarakshas ended eating him up. The following day he saw another Brahmin. The Brahmarakshas again climbed down the tree and put forth the same question. The Brahmin failed miserably to give the answer, and he too was eaten up by the Brahmarakshas. This became a regular routine. Seasons rolled by. One day a Brahmin youth came that way. He was in search of an eminent teacher to initiate him into asceticism. One look at him and the Brahmarakshas realized that he was a scholar. His charismatic personality also impressed the Brahmarakshas. Nevertheless, he decided to test the youth. He climbed down the tree and asked him the usual question. The youth gave the correct answer instantly. The Brahmarakshas was very pleased. You are the one I was waiting for. I shall teach you the text of Mahabhashyam, the great work of sage Patanjali, he said. The Brahmin youth readily agreed out of his zest for knowledge. Before starting, the Brahmarakshas gave a miraculous drug to the youth so that he would neither feel hungry nor sleepy. And then he accepted the youth as his disciple and began to teach him. The Brahmarakshas would write the lessons one by one on the peepal leaves. perching comfortably in the fork of a branch atop the tree and dropped them to the ground. The Brahmin youth would learn from them leaning against the heavy trunk of the tree. In 6 months, the Brahmin had grasped every lesson and nuance of the holy text. And when finally the Brahmin had mastered the Mahabhashiam, the Brahmarakshas's curse became nullified and he soon regained his celestial form. The youth prostrated before his teacher. Now it is your duty to propagate Mahabhashiam all over the world. By the way, I have given you a divine medicine to escape sleep and hunger. The effect of the medicine will be lost the moment you touch water. The moment that happens, you will slip into a long sleep lasting for 6 months. So be very careful, warned the Gandharva before disappearing. The Brahmin collected all the people leaves scattered at the foot of the tree with the notes scribbled on them. He tied them into a bundle with the intention of copying and preserving the lessons. As he left the tree, he felt a new vigor in him. He journeyed across many places, and one day he reached the banks of a river. He looked around for a canoe but could not find one that could help him cross the river. Since the river was shallow, he decided to cross it by foot. He left his bundle on the banks and slowly stepped into the river to have a wash. And lo, he fell asleep instantly. Luckily, a young woman bathing in the river a little away from where he lay saw him. She was the daughter of a Shudra landlord who stayed near the banks of the river. She immediately sent her maid and summoned 4 male servants from her house. With their help, she took him home and laid him on a cot. Hours ticked by, but the Brahmin did not show any sign of waking up. The girl was worried. She asked her father to summon a physician. The physician came. He examined the youth. There is nothing to worry about. He is perfectly fit. He is just sleeping. But I cannot say how long he would sleep. However, you will have to subject him to annalepanam, applying of rice paste all over the body to compensate the lack of food. 3 times a day to save him from starvation. If you do it properly, he will feel fit and energetic when he wakes up, the physician advised before taking leave. The woman was only too happy to look after the Brahmin. She willingly took up the responsibility of administering the Analepanam on him. Months passed. After 6 months, the Brahmin woke up. When he opened his eyes, the first thing that clicked his mind was the bundle he had left on the banks of the river. He got up and rushed to the river bank. Amazingly, he found the bundle still there, but a few leaves lay scattered here and there, and a cow was munching them one by one. However, he gathered the remaining leaves and was surprised to notice that they were still as fresh as they were when he had bundled them. Meanwhile, the woman had sent 2 servants after him. They saw him staring at the cow. Who is the owner of the cow? He asked the servants. The cow belongs to our master, they said. He had an idea. He returned to the landlord's house. The woman ushered him in with due respect. He felt a great deal of affection for the woman as he realized that it was she who had rescued him and looked after him during his long sleep. He told her everything about himself, right from the meeting with the Brahmarakshas to the sequence of events that transpired before he fell into the spell of sleep. But I have to save the Mahabhashiam. I have to regain the notes, he insisted. However, he stayed overnight, enjoying the hospitality of the landlord and his family. At daybreak, he went to the cowshed. He collected the cow dung and carefully examined it to find the peepal leaves in it. The peepal leaves were not damaged. He washed them in pure water. He was surprised to see the notes scribbled on them still intact and the leaves as fresh as they were when newly plucked. No doubt this is due to the divinity of the Gandharva and the sacredness of the Mahabhashiam, he was certain. He then tied the leaves into a bundle and went to bid goodbye to the woman. You have looked after me for months. I owe you my life. However, except for my blessings, I am unable to give you anything in return. But I assure you, my blessings will not go futile, he said. O great one, as you rightly said, I have served you for 6 long months. Now I cannot even think of serving another man in my life. Kindly accept me as your wife, the woman pleaded. The Brahmin was in a dilemma. He thought deeply for a while. He said to himself, O God, I have chosen to be a bachelor and to free myself from all material ties. I have been trying to concentrate only on the Brahman, Supreme Soul. Now I am in a dilemma. How can I reject a woman who has been so kind to me? I cannot be so cruel. But according to the Shastras, I have to marry a Brahmin lady, a Kshatriya lady, and a Vaishya lady before I marry a Shudra lady. The social customs also demand it. Probably that's God's will. It could also prove to be a good experience that would expose the triviality of worldly life before plunging into sannyasa. He made up his mind. O noble lady, I shall definitely heed your wish, but not before I marry a Brahmin lady, a Kshatriya lady, and a Vaishya lady, because I am bound by the Shastras to do so. Will you wait for me? He asked. Yes, I will wait for you, she said hopefully. Accordingly, the Brahmin went back to his village and married three women, one each from Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya communities respectively, and came back to marry the Shudra woman. In those days, Brahmins used to marry four women, one from Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra communities, with Agni, sacred fire, as the witness. The Brahmin began to lead a family life with his four wives. He soon had four sons: Vararuchi by his Brahmin wife, Vikramaditya by his Kshatriya wife, Bhatti by his Vaishya wife, and Bhartruhari by his Shudra wife. He performed all the religious ceremonies for his sons during the different stages of their growth and educated them properly, particularly in the Mahabhashiam. He taught them in face-to-face sessions, except Bhartruhari. Since Mahabhashiam was an offshoot of the Vedas, Bhartruhari had to attend the session seated behind a curtain. In those days, the Shudras did not have the privilege to learn Vedas or its allied subjects. Moreover, he had to promise his father that he would never propagate the holy text among his clan. However, all the four sons of the Brahmin became famous. Vararuchi was a renowned scholar, Vikramaditya was a valorous emperor, Bhatti as a noted intellectual, and Bhartrhari as a celebrated grammarian. Vararuchi's works, Prakrita Prakasham and Dhanapanchakam, are worthwhile contributions to literature. He is also the Adipita propagator of Parai Petta Pandiruvalam, divine sons born to the Brahmin Vararuchi of a Paraya low caste woman. Vikramaditya became famous through his gallantry and adventurous. He ruled for a long time as the emperor of Ujjaini. Bhatti, the shrewd minister of Vikramaditya, is remembered as the author of the famous Bhakti Kavyam Ramayana version. Bhartrhari is still held in high esteem as a celebrated writer. His works like Haritika and Vakyapadiyam are immortal classics. He has also authored books on Vyakaranam, grammar, and Vedantam philosophy. Scholars believe that the famous work Amaru Kasatakam was authored by Bhartrhari. As for their father, once his sons were on their own, he left home and went on to become a sannyasi. He was initiated into sannyas by Sri Gaudapadacharya and he accepted the name Govindaswami. He spent the rest of his life in the Badri Ashramam, a holy place on the foothills of the Himalayas. It is believed that Adi Shankara, the renowned philosopher, was a disciple of Govindaswami. After they had mastered the Mahabhashiam, Vararuchi, Vikramaditya, Bhatti, and Bhartrhari had an ardent wish to salute sage Patanjali. As they came to know that the sage had attained moksha, supreme salvation, so they had to satisfy themselves by penning a couplet in homage to him.